हेलो बच्चों, प्रॉब्लम कहता है if E1 and E2 are two events such that probability of E1 is 1 by 4 and the probability of E2 upon E1 is 1 by 2 and probability of E1 upon E2 is 1 by 4, then which of the options are correct options? So हमें given है that probability of E2 upon E1 and it is equal to 1 upon 2, and the conditional probability of E2 upon E1 is equal to, it is E2 intersection E1 divided by the probability of E1, which is equal to 1 by 2. It means that the probability of E2 intersection E1 is equal to half multiplied with, देखिए probability of E1 हमें given है that it is equal to 1 upon 4. So this probability is 1 upon 8. Now probability of E1 upon E2, ये हमें given है that it is equal to 1 upon 4, which means the probability of E1 intersection E2 divided by the probability of E2, it is equal to 1 upon 4, which means that the probability of E2 is equal to, देखिए इसका value is 1 upon 8 and it is divided by 1 upon 4, which is equal to half. तो अब हमारे पास तीनों probabilities हैं, means the probability of we have E1 intersection E2, which is equal to 1 upon 8. The probability of E1 is given as 1 upon 4 and the probability of E2 is 1 upon 2, और ये तीनों फॉर्म करते हैं एक जीपी. 1 upon 8, 1 upon 4 और 1 upon 2 तीनों ही ज्योमेट्रिक प्रोग्रेशन में है. So we can say that option D is correct option. Now हमें चेक करना है E1 और E2 इंडिपेंडेंट इवेंट्स हैं या नहीं है. Now for that probability of E1 multiplied with probability of E2 is equal to, देखिए E1 का probability 1 upon 4 है, ये probability 1 upon 2 है, so it is equal to 1 upon 4 into 1 upon 2, which is equal to 1 upon 8, and it is equal to probability of E1 intersection E2. So therefore E1 and E2 are independent events. Now ये दोनों exhaustive events हैं या नहीं है, and for that E1 union E2 का जो probability होगा that should be equal to 1. So we can say that probability of E1 union E2, it is given by the probability of E1 plus the probability of E2 minus the probability of E1 intersection E2, and it is equal to 5 upon 8 and not equal to 1. So therefore E1 and E2 are not exhaustive events. And the C option says that E2 का probability is twice that of E1. और वो evident है यहाँ से, E2 का probability 1 upon 2 है and E1 का probability 1 upon 4 है. Now since probability of E2 is equal to twice the probability of E1, so यहाँ से हम कह सकते हैं that option A is correct, यहाँ से हम कह सकते हैं that option C is correct, और यहाँ से हम कह सकते हैं that option D is correct. So the final answer to this problem is that option A, C and D are the correct options. Hope you understood it well. Best of luck.